our next guest. He's going up against Paddy Pimblett. He's the great Jared Gordon. He's kind enough to join us right now. There he is. Hey, Jared, how are you?
Well, Ariel, how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. They told me your Wi-Fi wasn't good. It looks pretty damn good to me.
Man, I don't know what's going on. Normally it's fine, but seems all right.
All right. Well, we'll fight through it if it's not fine, but it's fine right now. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate it. A lot of people looking forward to this fight, high-profile fight. Can I ask you, by the way, I remember several months ago, and I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, Dana White who said it himself that you were like, they said you were going to fight him in March, and then it was like never a thing. I remember texting you about it, and you're like, yeah, I don't know about this. What happened there? How did that happen? Like, why did that get said and never come to fruition?
Honestly, I really don't know. I, reached out to my manager when I heard that Dana said that, and I saw I think it was a Barstool Sports interview that he did. And my manager was like, I don't know what you're talking about. So I think my manager is friends with Patty's manager. Well, my manager at the time. I have a new manager now, but he reached out and they had no idea either. So I think maybe my name was on a board somewhere or on a piece of paper with possible opponents. And I think, me and Patty have been kind of like calling each other out for the last, couple of fights that we both had. And maybe it was just kind of like jumping the gun or something. And it never happened. But here we are. So,
okay. Do you feel like this,
yeah.
you've been in the UFC for quite a while now. Do you feel like this is the biggest fight of your career?
As far as high or profile, then yeah, for sure. Supposedly we're opening up the main card.
Wow.
Um, from what I've seen, and so yeah, definitely large spot for me. Patty obviously has a huge following, so yeah, a lot of eyes are going to be on us, and it's going to be great.
Are you surprised that they booked you against them?
No, not at this point. He's had three fights. He's 3-0, I think, with three finishes, and he's got to get a step up eventually, right? So, and I think with our backstory, we've been calling each other out, and it just makes sense at this point. I fought his teammate Chris Fishgold before Patty was even in the UFC, and I won. So when he got signed, he originally was like, "Hey, I would like to." He named like 3 or 4 guys. I was one of them. I would like to get that one back for my team. And then every time after we fought, the last however many fights it's been for both of us, we've been calling each other out. So I think it's just, good storyline, and it's time for a bump in competition. So,
have you been impressed with him in the UFC?
Yeah, he's come in and done what he says he's going to do, and he's had some adversity in the fights, and he's shown that he can, overcome some adversity and come back and win. So now I'm not saying that his opponents were, the best fighters ever, but still a lot of pressure on him to go and perform. So he did what he's supposed to do, and he's done his job.
Did you ever watch any of his fights in Cage Warriors or just his UFC fights?
Yeah, I've seen a couple highlights as well. But yeah, he's unpredictable, and he goes for it.
Yeah.
He's not afraid to. He's supposed to be a grappler, but he goes for it on the feet too. So it's not like this is a mixed martial arts fight, and he's got a lot of fights. It's not like he has only 10 fights. He's got only 2 less fights than me, and so it's not like he's inexperienced in that sense. He just doesn't have as many UFC fights as me. So, but yeah, I've seen a good deal of them.
I thought his best performance as far as the UFC fights was his last one. I thought that was his cleanest, most impressive performance. Do you agree with that?
Honestly, I haven't watched. I think it was Jordan Levin, right?
You didn't watch it?
I haven't watched that fight yet.
Really?
I will, obviously, but no, I've seen. No, like I have this thing now where I just don't watch UFC or that many fights unless like I really, really want to watch it.
Okay.
I'm just so like sucked into fighting, and I have a wife, and I have other things that I do. So it's like, it just gives me too much work is just not a good thing, I think. So I try not to watch every single card. That card I missed. Um, but yeah, I heard he lost the first round. Jordan did a good job in the first round, and then he, like I said, he came back from adversity and got the finish. So hats off to him. Jordan, um, you know, about the same amount of experience in the UFC as Paddy, and Paddy came out the winner. So, but yeah, I'll definitely be watching it.
By the way, when did you get married?
Oh, that's a good question now, Jurgen. I just had my year anniversary
Oh,
on the 29th, so a little over a year ago.
Mazel tov.
Thank you.
That's what we say.
Appreciate it.
You're not Jewish, are you?
Yeah, I know. Well, my father is a Jew.
Oh,
My mother's, Catholic Sicilian. I grew up celebrating Hanukkah and Easter and Christmas and Rosh Hashanah, and our neighbor, we would go to a Seder dinner for Passover, and then I would go to the next guy's house for lamb for Easter. So I was very confused as a child. I'm now a Christian.
okay.
My wife's, Miss Gambino. She grew up as a Catholic, so.
Well, that's good. As a kid, you got the best of both worlds.
Yeah, it was great, man. Christmas, Hanukkah, that whole stretch during the winter,
tremendous.
It couldn't be better, Yeah, it was huge. Yeah.
So you okay, so you're in a good spot. I actually like the fact that you don't kind of flood your brain with UFC because it's on every week for 7 hours. I respect that.
Man.
It does make me think about your comments in August where you said like you don't really love this, and I think there was like some, I don't know, people took it the wrong way, and then you felt the need to.
Yes.
So what now? But then I hear you say this, and by the way, I think that's actually very healthy. It's very normal to not want to watch it 7 hours every Saturday when you're training all day, every day. And so, could you clarify your stance on how you feel about the sport?
Yes, I love MMA. I eat, breathe, and sleep it. I love the UFC. I'm making a living doing what I love. Being in the UFC was always something I wanted to do as a kid. I grew up watching it. So people were like, well, just go do something else then. And I'm like, man, it just went right over your head. Fighting, when I win, 3 days later, I'm like, all right, now what?
Yeah.
It's not fulfilling. And something that can be so easily taken away from me, or eventually I have to stop. And then what do I identify as? Am I going to be 55 years old telling people, yeah, I'm a UFC fighter? No, I'm not. Or I fight. I was a fighter. No, I'm not going to be. I don't even go around telling people now. Like people ask me, oh, you wrestle? I'm like, yeah, something like that. I don't like tell them like, oh, I'm in the UFC. I don't identify as a fighter. That's not who I am. I'm a brother. I'm a sister. I'm a brother. I'm a son.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a husband. Mm-hmm. I'm a friend. And what I do outside of the sport is more important to me than fighting in a cage. So yes, I love it. I love competing. I love martial arts. It's one of my passions. But the sport itself is a way for me to make a living. I love doing this to make a living, but it just doesn't give me lasting fulfillment, no matter what I do. And you see it all the time. Anderson Silva fought Jake Paul this past weekend or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The guy is how old? 47? Mm-hmm. What is he still chasing? You were the UFC champion, one of the, maybe the best ever. But you're 47, you're still fine. You got enough money. Is he broke? Maybe he is. I don't know, but I doubt it. Mm. And it's like, you see these guys, I think it was Holyfield that fought Vitor Belfort. What are you doing in the ring at this point? You're a legend. Your name will be in the history books forever, but you're still chasing something. So you're trying to fulfill a hole that fighting, UFC, boxing, hockey, basketball will never fill for you ever. The only thing that gives me that peace and serenity is when I'm at home with my wife and my dogs. I don't have kids yet. When I'm with my parents, I just saw my parents. They're moving down from Queens to Florida. I got lunch with them, helping other people. Obviously I'm a recovering junkie, doing stuff like that. People tell me, oh, you saved my life. Like that's what gives me lasting fulfillment, and it's priceless. Every fight has a price tag on it. No matter how much money you make, it will never fulfill you. I don't give a shit what you say. Floyd Mayweather, the guy is he does everything he can to make himself happy and fulfilled. Do you think he's happy when he's in the strip club throwing $1 million around? Like, is that really what gives you joy? How many times have you done this, Floyd? You've been doing this since you were 18 years old. You're still throwing money at strippers. It's like, I don't blame you. That's what you want to do. Go ahead. I lived a crazy life too. I did it all. I did all that. And it's just not. So when I say that, people, I think it was mostly young people that took it the wrong way. Like, oh, go do something else then if you hate fighting. Yeah. You just don't understand yet. But I think the people that have a head on their shoulders understood what I meant.
Yeah.
When I said that.
It made a lot of sense to me. And I also thought a little bit of George St. Pierre, who I consider the greatest of all time, who has told me and others repeatedly that he hated fighting, that if he could train his whole life, which he currently still does, he would be very happy, but it was the fight night, it was fight week that he dreaded, that he despised. And so I wondered if that was part of it as well. Like this like, all this intensity, this crescendo and all of that you were referring to.
Yeah. I mean, that too, like fighting gives me anxiety. Right. I have fears and doubts, obviously. And then, you're cutting weight and then you make weight and then you have your post-fight, or your post weigh-in meal, and then the anticipation of the fight. You're going to the arena, backstage. Yeah, it's definite emotional roller coaster.
Right.
And then when you win or if you lose, it's like, all right, that's it. Next, what now? Now what do I do next? Now how do I fulfill myself? I come home and I'm like, what do I do now? I find myself, doing crazy shit, like weird, like things that I shouldn't be doing, and it's like I'm trying to fill my idle time with fighting. But I can't fight every day, so it's impossible. But yeah, I get what George is saying completely. And training is the best part. It's the most, you're learning, you're evolving as a human, as a man. And, but yeah, so it's like, I feel exactly what he's saying.
It's very powerful when you also make the analogy between the high you get from fighting and the high you got taking drugs, because you hear people make that analogy who have never taken, like, chasing the dragon and the pop from the crowd and all that stuff. Is that a dangerous feeling for you? Is it the same type of high or is it a completely different one?
It's like, it's gratification. I'm looking for, with drugs, I was looking for instant gratification. Sometimes it was like right there in that moment, like I needed, maybe I was dope sick or something and I needed to get a fix. Okay. The drugs immediately give you that gratification, that good feeling. But with fighting, we're looking at the approval from others. I'm looking at Twitter and Instagram for approval when I should be looking at, God and my wife and my family and my friends for approval and who I am as a man. You get fans. Like I think I saw an article recently. Sean Brady was getting people threatening his life. If you beat Bilal, we're gonna kill you. It's like, what kind of this, like, so to look for approval from the fans or from anyone is just not. You're just never gonna get it from them, and you're never gonna get a satisfied feeling from anyone, no matter what. Because you know what? When Conor McGregor fights, whoever it is that he's fighting, all that anticipation. Oh my God, it's going to be so big. And then he fights, and then Sunday comes and no one gives a fuck anymore. Oh, Conor lost last night, or Conor won last night. Big fucking deal. No one gives a fuck. Everyone's got to move on and go on with their own lives.
Right.
So it's like, it's just like, I used to think that fighting was going to give me satisfaction and like long-lasting peace and serenity, but it's not. It just never will. It's like buying a car or buying a new pair of sneakers. Oh, don't step on my sneakers. A week later, you're like, fuck these sneakers. I need a new pair of sneakers now. You know what I mean? It's the same thing.
How long do you want to do this for?
I mean, I'm doing pretty well right now. I think this is like my best stride as an athlete. I did lose to Grant, but I'm 4 out of 5, and I make decent money now, and I'm healthy. My brain's good. My body's good. I don't drink or drug, obviously. So, and I do everything I can to stay emotionally and spiritually and physically fit. So, I mean, I would like to get another 4 or 5 years out of it if I can, and if I'm getting compensating correctly, and if I'm healthy. If some of those things aren't happening for me, then it's like, all right, and I can do so many other things. Fighting is not the only thing I do. I do a lot of other things, so it's not like, yeah, I want to get as far as I can, of course. So we'll see what happens.
How is your sobriety going?
Great. On December 27th, I'll have 7 years sober completely from
Incredible.
drugs, alcohol. Yeah, it's been great. Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations, man. I remember when we spoke, when you told us about the Christmas story and how that was rock bottom for you. And have you felt like always in charge, always in control? Have there been scary moments?
Oh yeah. That's why I've come to this conclusion of how, when I got sober, I was like, all right, I just got to fight. I got to fight, and that's what's going to keep me on board with the sober thing. And then, like, I had some ups and downs in the UFC. I came in, I won 2 straight easily, and I lost 2 straight, and they made me fight my contract out on that fight, on that contract. Luckily, I got fight of the night though on that last fight. They gave me a new contract. Then I had some ups and some more downs. I fought Oliveira. I had to have a plate put in my face after that Oliveira fight. Then I came back. I moved to Florida. I renewed myself. I evolved, and now I've gone on a decent run here. And so no, it's not been just sunshine and rainbows. And I'm married. At the time before I was married, things got a little rough with me and my fiance. Things still get rough now with us, and other things happen. I lost a lot of friends. I've lost all sorts of different things. I've had a lot of ups and downs. So no, I haven't always felt. Sometimes I'm like, yo, fuck this. I'm going to go get high. I don't give a fuck about the UFC. I don't give a fuck about my family. I don't care about my relationships. I don't care about everything that I've obtained. I'll throw it all away because I'm fucking fucked. I'm stupid. I'm fucked up in my head. So, but luckily I've set some guardrails, and I have some coping mechanisms now where I don't have to run to a needle or to anything else that's going to give me fake gratification. So I'm stronger now in my sobriety than I have been in a long time now, and recently I've been really strong and I feel great.
By the way, I obviously can't relate to that. I've never been in your shoes, but I'm always so impressed with how open you are speaking about these things. Does it annoy you to speak about this? Like, in your mind, are you thinking like, God, I don't want to talk? Or is it actually like helpful to speak about it? Like when interviewers ask you about it, do you roll your eyes internally?
I mean, sometimes this gets repetitive.
Yeah.
Especially when they're like, let's start from the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, well,
yeah.
How far back you want to go? Because there's a lot of stories.
Yeah.
But no, I have to tell the story because, even if I reach one person through that one interview, then it's worth it for me. And I truly believe that this is why God put me here. He was like, I thought at first it was like to become a UFC fighter, and now I'm Jared from Queens. I'm a tough guy. I'm gonna go fight in the UFC, blah, blah. No, it's to use my platform with the UFC to get as big as I can, as popular as I can, so I can reach as many people as possible. If you had Connor or guys like Nate Diaz, preaching about mental health, it would probably help countless souls. But, whatever their agenda is, that's their agenda, So, but that's my goal, is to get there so I can help people.
Speaking of Jared from Queens, I loved, obviously I didn't love what you were talking about, but like the story that you told that you wanted to fight at MSG because a few blocks away, that's where you used to get high, and there's great symbolism there. And I thought Paddy would be a shoo-in for MSG. Molly's fighting. Is there a part of you that's bummed that this fight isn't happening at MSG a month earlier?
Not necessarily anymore. I was a little like, damn, I have never fought in New York. A lot of these guys in the that are on this next card have fought in MSG numerous times. But taxes, that's why I moved to Florida. I don't have to pay state income tax. I don't have to pay city tax. But yeah, it's a dream of mine to fight there. I used to train at Henzo's, which is literally 4 blocks away. For years, I trained. I used to walk by Madison Square Garden every day. My grandfather boxed in Madison Square Garden multiple times, in the 50s.
Wow.
He grew up in Harlem. Yeah, he grew up in Harlem. And Yeah, I used to shoot heroin like down the block from Madison Square Garden. So, I'd walk by it all junked out and be like, oh man, maybe one day I'll fight there. And now I have the opportunity to. So yeah, but my time will come. It'll just be a bigger fight than this one at a later date, and that's fine with me.
By the way, your grandfather's name?
Salvatore Farello.
Wow, that's amazing. What was his record at MSG?
I don't know what his record at MSG was, but he was 38-3 as a pro.
Wow.
So he was quite the boxer. And then he went to prison for 8 years for selling heroin. So
oh damn, holy smoke!
Yeah, kind of walking in his footsteps, but he got messed up later on in life, and then eventually, it just got worse for him. He died young from a heart attack when he was like 69 or something, or 70. But yeah, he went to prison in Detroit for 8 years for selling heroin. And now, I got messed up younger, and I don't want to walk in his footsteps the way he ended his life. So
right.
Thank you, Grandpa, for teaching me a lesson.
What a life, man! What a story, and it's never a dull moment. I saw on your Instagram not that long ago there was a guy with a baseball bat that approached your family, and you had to apprehend him. Did you ever?
Yeah.
Did you ever figure out why? Like what was going? Because honestly, when I watched the clip,
I know
the guy.
Exactly why.
Oh, you do know why? Okay, why?
Yeah. So the person that took that video was my cousin. But what happened was we came out of a restaurant in Chicago, me and my family, my parents, my cousin, and her husband. I forget what it's called, something in Georgetta's, some famous restaurant in Chicago, old school restaurant. And we're walking down the block back to our hotel. And there was an ATM, like a pull-through ATM for cars. And there's a guy at the ATM machine, and on his bumper sticker, it says, "I love crack whores."
Really?
So I'm like, oh, that's, yeah. I thought it was hysterical, obviously. It was kind of crazy thing to have on your bumper sticker. So I took my phone out and started filming it. And then I noticed, like, through my phone that he's, like, climbing out of the passenger side door because he couldn't open his door because the ATM machine was right there. So I'm like, what the hell is this guy doing? And I see him going into his trunk, and now I'm thinking, oh, shit, we're in Chicago. Maybe this guy's going to whip out an AK-47 and kill us all. And he grabs a bat, and he's walking towards me, like, at a fast pace. So I'm like, this fucking guy crazy? And I got really upset. So I'm with my parents and my cousin and her husband. And my cousin's husband does martial arts also. So he's no pushover. So I'm like, yo, Ken, look at this guy. And we just, like, I approached him also and grabbed him. And I'm like, are you crazy? You're approaching me and my you have a bumper sticker on your, oh, you're taking a picture of my license plate. Yeah, because I need your license plate. For what? What do I need to be? You have it says it right there. I love crack whores. And he was like, oh. And I don't know how I was able to control myself because I really wanted to, like, hurt him more than we did. But we just apprehended him, I guess, took the bat, and he walked away.
It's a very strange exchange to watch because he seems like kind of like a normal dude, and he's like, "Can I get the bat back?" And you're like, "No, you're not getting the bat." The whole thing was very weird.
Yeah, it was strange. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Well, good job on your part. Before I let you go, just curious, how do you think this goes down? How do you think it actually plays out, this fight? There's obviously going to be a lot of attention. Your fight's going to get as much attention as any fight on that card, including the main event. And I'm sure you know this. How do you think it actually plays out?
Honestly, anytime I ever predicted one of my fights, I was wrong.
Okay.
I'm not Mystic Mac. I'm fucking Jared.
Jared from Queens.
I don't know what I am. Yeah, I'm Jared from Queens. I think it's gonna be action-packed fight. I think it's gonna be a fun first round. And I think I'm gonna drown him. I think I'm gonna break him. That's just always my style, though. That's what. Anytime someone asks me, what do you think is going to happen? I think I'm going to go out there and get the guy tired and grind him out and kick his ass. And that's how a lot of my wins have gone. So, I mean, maybe something better will happen. Anytime I predicted that I'm going to finish the guy, I go with decision. Anytime that I say, so it's like, I'll say that I'm going to go with decision and just drown him, but maybe I'll knock him out now. So we'll see what happens.
The real play is you say you're going to lose and then you win in like 10 seconds. That's like the complete opposite of what we were just saying. But obviously you don't want to say that.
No.
But by the way, do you consider, like, there's some people who think he's, overrated, overhyped? Do you subscribe to that?
Listen, a fight's a fight, and he goes for it on the feet. I think he's more dangerous on the feet than people give him credit for, and he's tricky and he's unpredictable. So, he's got 3 finishes in the UFC right now, and he's on a big streak. So, anything could happen. But I think he's more well prepared, and now that he's got all of this hype on, he's got a lot of support, and he has the money now to afford to have nutritionists and other coaches and traveling for training and new ideas and new people. And, sometimes all you need is a little tweak in your game, and all of a sudden, things change for you in a good way. So I am not underestimating him whatsoever. I think it's going to be a fun, tough fight. And I, like the whole plan, like he speaks about mental health, I speak about mental health, and like, I don't think anything's going to come of it as far as like, organizing something, but like really 2 kids like us. I know he's from Liverpool, which is a blue collared place, like not always the best of circumstances for people in that city. I come from Queens, New York. That's all I got to say about that. My background, I know he's had some struggles with his background. So, if we could help people, that's really the goal. Instead of being, fake gangsters on TV, we're professional athletes. Instead of trying to tear each other down, we can try to help people and, entertain them at the same time. So fighting for me is just another day of sparring, just with small gloves and less gear. But the pain and the blood, like that's not the issue. I just want to win. But so the fighting part's it's not a big deal to me. It's all about how I present myself, how he presents himself, and how we could change and make a difference. And, some of the fans just want to see blood and guts, and the crowd is fickle. But that's how I feel, man. Like everything I've gone through, I don't fucking give a fuck about, being the cool guy or, smoking blunts on TV and shit. I was smoking blunts when I was 11 years old. Like, they wouldn't even have camera phones back then. So,
11?
All that shit is played out. I started smoking pot when I was 9 years old.
Come on. No.
By the time I was 11, I was 9 years old. By the time I was smoking pot, I was 11 years old every day, literally almost every day smoking pot, 11, 12 years old.
Who's giving it to you?
No exaggeration.
At that age?
You want me to name the people?
No, I don't want you to name.
Man, I lived in a small knit group of neighborhood in Long Island at the time, and all the younger kids were friends with the older kids, and it was very easy for us. And everyone had money. I lived in Roslyn Heights. Everyone was rich at that point for me until I moved to Queens. And everyone had access to drugs and alcohol. So it was really easy for us.
Jeez. I have a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old, and like the idea of them doing something like that.
Man, when I look back at it, not to put my parents on the spot, but I was smoking pot with my parents when I was that age too.
For real?
My parents are great people. My dad's a businessman. He's, a millionaire or whatever. I'm not trying to,
Yeah.
They were great people, but it's just the way it was. My whole family, my cousins, my uncles and aunts, it's just the way it was.
Wow.
But yeah, I'm not trying to glorify it.
No, of course.
That's that was my childhood.
What a story, man. Well, I can't wait for this. Happy that you're getting this opportunity. And by the way, congrats to you and your teammate Bilal on a great weekend in Abu Dhabi 2 weeks ago. A huge win. I'm sure his success is inspiring as well for you to reach those heights. Seemed like you guys had a great time out there. I see you doing tug of war with tigers, playing with monkeys.
Yeah.
Golly, you guys, I don't know if I would have done. Was that before the fight, the tug of war with the tiger?
No, that was after.
Okay, geez Louise. Because I felt like you were playing with fire there.
We were struggling.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was tough.
All right.
Strong animal, yeah.
Great stuff, Jared. You're an inspiration, and I wish you nothing but the best. And again, good luck in this training camp, and good luck on December 10th. Thanks a lot for doing this. Great to talk to you again.